All right, let's just jump right into this. Marvel's next huge movie, Avengers Doomsday, is finally on the horizon. But, its marketing rollout has kicked off one of the biggest debates we've seen in a long, long time. Everyone's asking the same thing. Was this a genius move or just a total misfire?
This one comment from a fan on Reddit, it just perfectly hits the nail on the head. This is how so many people felt. It wasn't really anger, it was just confusion, a sense of being completely underwhelmed. The whole campaign didn't seem to make people excited, it just made them aware.
And that, right there, is the big question we're going to dig into. Did Marvel just completely misread the room here? Or, and this is the interesting part, was this whole unconventional, kind of chaotic campaign actually a calculated masterstroke designed for the way we all consume media today? Let's break it down.
So first up, let's talk about the feelings, the sentiment. Because for a lot of dedicated fans, the ones who've been following this story for years, this first batch of teasers landed with a thud, not the huge bang everyone was expecting.
If you scrolled through social media right after those teasers dropped, you saw the same things over and over. People were calling the rollout anticlimactic, saying it left them with zero expectations. And the main problem? It felt like the whole thing was focused on who was in the movie, not why we should even care about the story. People wanted the premise, the hook, not just a list of returning heroes.
And look, it wasn't just fans feeling this way. Writers like David Hath over at comicbook.com pointed out the exact same thing. The argument was that this felt less like an epic story and more like a celebrity roll call. They were selling the star power, not the substance of the plot.
Okay, so the vibes were kind of off, but then you look at the numbers, and whoa, it is a completely different story. The raw data makes a really powerful case that actually, this campaign was a massive success.
So get this, according to The Hollywood Reporter, those 4 teasers pulled in over 1 billion combined views. That's billion with a B, and that was in less than a month. That's a number that is it's impossible to ignore, no matter what people were saying online.
And people weren't just passively watching. The engagement was absolutely through the roof. The social volume, that's just the sheer number of people talking about it, was up 188% compared to a normal Marvel drop. It didn't just get views, it was shattering records. 505 million views on Instagram, 103 million on TikTok, both new all-time highs for Marvel.
And this gets us to the real heart of the debate, doesn't it? In today's world where attention is everything, does it matter how people feel if the numbers are this huge? I mean, is getting 1 billion views and record-breaking buzz the ultimate win, even if a lot of that buzz is people being confused or critical?
But if we zoom in a little bit, the picture gets a lot more complicated. Let's look at YouTube, the traditional home for movie trailers. The top Doomsday teaser got a massive 181.5 million views, for sure. But that's still way behind the first trailer for Infinity War, which is sitting at 269 million.
Now, of course, we gotta add some context here. This is not a perfect apples-to-apples comparison. The Doomsday numbers are from just 1 month, while those older trailers have been up for years. And, this is really key, the way we watch trailers has totally changed. You're way more likely to see a trailer on your TikTok feed now than to go searching for it on YouTube.
So beyond the fan feelings and the massive view counts, the rollout strategy itself was, well, it was messy. It got really complicated by a bunch of things that just seemed to blow up Marvel's original plan. We're talking leaks, AI fakes, the whole shebang.
So here was the original plan. The teasers were only going to be in theaters, attached to Avatar, Fire and Ash. It's a very old-school way to build hype, but that plan completely fell apart, like almost immediately. Within a few days, the internet was flooded with these terrible, shaky bootleg recordings from inside the theaters. And at the same time, super convincing AI fakes started popping up everywhere. The chaos basically forced Marvel's hand, and they had to officially release the teaser online just a few days later.
And these leaks were a classic double-edged sword. I mean, on one hand, a lot of people's first look at Doomsday was some blurry, shaky phone video, which is the last thing a studio wants. But on the other hand, the fact that these leaks spread like wildfire proved just how desperate and excited fans were to see anything at all.
And then, to throw another wrench in the works, you had the AI-generated fakes. And we're not talking about silly fan edits. Some of these were incredibly realistic recreations of the real teasers. And even though they were labeled as fakes, they still fooled tons of people. It just created this really confusing environment where you couldn't tell what was real and what wasn't.
You have to think a big part of this theaters-only plan was to use the Doomsday hype to sell more tickets for Avatar, Fire and Ash. But did it work? Well, the numbers tell a pretty clear story. No.
After a month, Fire and Ash was making way less money than its predecessor, The Way of Water. It seems the promise of a Marvel teaser just wasn't enough to really move the needle for another movie's box office.
And that brings us to the last piece of this puzzle, the timing. All of this chaos, all this debate, all these billion views, this all happened a full 364 days before the movie is even supposed to come out. And that raises a really big question.
A year-long marketing campaign is a huge risk. Just for comparison, the first trailer for Infinity War dropped only about 5 months before the movie came out. When you start this early, you run a very real risk of fan burnout. I mean, how do you keep this level of hype going for an entire year? There's also the danger that this constant Doomsday countdown is just going to overshadow the other Marvel stuff that's coming out in 2026.
So after all that, after looking at the lukewarm feelings, the crazy numbers, the messy rollout, and the risks of a year-long wait, where do we land? Success or failure?
When you put it all side by side like this, you can really see the conflict. The case for failure is pretty traditional. Fans weren't thrilled, the rollout was a mess, and it didn't help a partner movie. But the case for success is all about new media. It generated an insane amount of buzz, broke social media records, and it got literally everyone talking. For better or worse, it made everyone aware.
We can sit here and debate this all day long, but at the end of the day, the only verdict that really matters to the studio is going to be the final box office numbers. If this movie makes $1 gazillion, nobody's going to remember any of this. If it underperforms, this whole campaign will be looked at as a major cautionary tale.
And that kind of leaves us with one last big question that goes way beyond just this one movie. In this hyper-connected world we live in, has the whole point of marketing changed? Is the new definition of success just to get everybody talking, no matter what they're actually saying? It's a question I think studios are going to be wrestling with for a long time.